Good evening, and welcome to the November 12th, 2024. This is a regular meeting of the Town of Milton Select Board. I'd like to begin by calling the meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. 7:04 p.m. We'll begin with item number 2 and ask everyone present to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let me get ready for this. So item number 3, I don't see throngs of people tonight, so we should be good. Item number 3 is public comment. We allow up to 21 minutes for public comment, 3 minutes per speaker. If there's someone here for public comment, I'd ask that you come forward, sign your name, identify your name and address, and we'll begin there. Ms. Agostino, come forward. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair
You're welcome.
and future state rep. Could you please at least let me know with regards to the 3 minutes, because,
We will.
there was no,
We'll let you know at 30
give me
seconds.
a warning ahead of time. So I come before you tonight with just the beginning of some items that I have gathered, that I have previously sent to the former members, maybe not the new members, to have them. And they're very concerning items, so while they were sent to you previously, they were never responded to and they haven't been addressed. The first one is, and they're all, I listed it as a true or false, legal or illegal, so that we can track these. It's true that the Attorney General sent to the town clerk on May 2nd of 2023, which was the day after we started our annual town meeting of May of 2023, a letter stating that they had approved Article 14th of the June 6, 2022 annual town meeting that dealt with electronic voting devices. That's true. In the letter, it states that the devices could be used according to the bylaws also. So that required the town clerk, and these documents are all on record, the town clerk had to publish in the newspaper 2 consecutive weeks. One was May 11th, one was May 18th, that this was going to become a bylaw. After May 18th, the electronic voting devices could be used. That is all true. You can't contest that fact. However, what occurred after that was town meeting ended on May 9th. So we used electronic voting devices, and technically, if you look at the truth, we passed, over $130 million budgetary line items and many articles. One of those articles had to do with the Lamb Woods estate, I believe. So I think it's very, very serious that as fiduciaries of the town, you look at what impact that situation has on us. And like I said, you have those documents, but I can send them again. I've broken things down into topics. There are many topics, so I'll try to just keep within the 3 minutes. The second one is the Conservation Commission. Town meeting approved Pope's Pond to go to the Conservation Commission in 1963. You've all heard me talk about this at town meeting. The documents prove this is true. What occurred at town meeting in May of this year
30 seconds.
was that we did not vote to abide by the true passage of the articles. The Conservation Commission in May of this year received a 3 or 4 page letter from the DEP regarding 111 Highland Street and many, many, many serious concerns the DEP has in how that land was ever approved to be developed. I know not every Conservation Commission member has even been notified. It has not been posted on any agenda that I located. And the reason I am starting this drive of true or false is to get you the facts
Thank you, Mrs. Agostino.
and expect that you'll do your fiduciary duty. Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
I see, do we have anyone else here for citizen speak? Public comment? No, I see no one online. So that will conclude item 3, public comment for tonight. Item number 4 is a public hearing for property tax classification on the provisions of Chapter 40, Section 56 of the Massachusetts general laws. So I think I need to pull a motion for this. And I would move to open a public hearing on the property tax classification. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So I believe, Mr. Milano, do I want to invite?
Yes, the Board of Assessors and Charlie O'Shea,
So
Chief Appraiser for the town.
I have the Chief Appraiser, Charlie O'Shea, and Mr. William Bennett. Are you the member, Chair? What?
I'm the chair.
The Chair of the Board of Assessors. We follow a lot of committees here, but I don't, things change a lot, so I wanted to get it right. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
So I believe Mr. Milano's going to run our PowerPoint
That's
for
fine,
us.
whatever you need, he'll
Yeah.
do for you.
I apologize if you have to turn around.
No, we're looking right at it here.
Oh,
We're
you
good.
have it
We're
there,
good.
okay, great. So our goal for today, we really have two things we'd like to accomplish. First would be to review changes in value from fiscal '24 to fiscal '25. And we talk about fiscal years, we're in fiscal '25 right now. The assessors update values on an annual basis. So each year, we like to review that with the Select Board. And then secondly, we'll review the option for shifting the tax rate, provided that the Select Board feels comfortable with that. So in terms of the assessed values, first of all, you'll see that there's a chart. And this chart here, you'll notice we have a very small slice. That's approximately 5% of the total value of the town. And that is, that encompasses commercial, industrial, and personal property. And the dark area would be residential. So you'll see that residential is going to be a big part of the overall valuation amount. As far as the values are concerned, we used 2023 sales in order to get to the valuation. And some of the general information that came out of there. First, you'll see that we have a chart here for residential values. So from 2024 to 2025, we increased 2% for the residential. And in the 2%, we could talk a little about the reason, because we were a little bit surprised. But just to let you know that on the commercial side, we went up about 9%. So overall, commercials went up a little higher. There was a little bit more activity in the commercial market this year. And the residential market was a little bit more slower than we expected. So there's a 2% versus a 9% increase in terms of that.
Quick question.
Sure.
So commercial does not apply to like any of the multi-unit, like 440 Granite Ave or 7 Rent, those are considered still residential?
Correct.
Even though
Yeah.
they're multi, okay.
It would have to be an office building or a retail building.
So it has to be
or
something,
like
okay,
that.
I got
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So the differences, as I said, were 2% and 9%. In terms of the tax shift, which we'll move to next, the board, including Mr. Bennett here, we met on November 6th. And on November 6th, you can see that we chose option 3, which is highlighted here. The reason that we chose option 3 is that the board works hard to try and get the increases for both residential and commercial to about 3%. In this case here, because we're under the auspices of the state, we can't just set the rates we want. We have to use their rate calculator in order to set all the values. So option number 3, you'll see that down towards the bottom there, we have a 3.7% change for single family and a 2.43 change for average commercial. And the residential factor, which is down at the bottom, is 0.9775. So the tax rate itself is going to be adjusted by those factors in order to get there. Oftentimes there's questions, well, what are the differences, et cetera. In our case, if I move one more over, you'll see that the average single-family tax bill, again, from 24 to 25, and you'll see it over on the right-hand side there. If you were to choose option 3, the overall taxes would go up about 3.6%. And that's more or less, equal to a lot of the different amounts that are in there now. And in the case of just commercials by themselves, they'd probably go up about 2.4%, and the residentials would go up just a little bit more than that. So overall, I think that we're not looking at a big difference in valuations and what people need to pay for taxes, based on that, choosing that option there. The general reason, and I don't know if you have any questions, I know I
We'll let you finish on that.
Got it,
I'll
okay.
ask the question.
So basically, what we're asking is that, that the board would consider option 3. We felt that's the most fair, and we try to make it fair for the taxpayers. So that's where you'll see the adjustments down at the bottom, the 3.7, 2.43, and the residential factor would be a 0.9775. And average single-family tax bills, you can see the differences there. So we're talking about a $400 difference, somewhere in that range there. Could be a little bit less than that as well. But your average properties are going to be in that $400 range for a difference.
Questions, comments? Anyone? Ms. Bradley?
Thank you for doing this. Looks really good. I have a quick question about our tax base for commercial and for residential. Last time, I believe that residential was around 96-97% of our tax base. Is that still correct?
It's about a little bit more than 95% right
Okay,
now.
so it went
And
down a little bit.
commercials would be just a bit below 5%.
Okay, that's great. So we've seen an increase in commercial just a little bit
We
in the
have.
last, 5 years.
We actually, this year and next year as well, because we see some of the 2024 sales coming in, there's a little bit of activity going on, which
That's
is
great.
kind of what made the value go up a little bit.
So we're at 95 and 5. And is there a reason why the tax rate for commercial tax base is only going up that 2.43%? Is that part of the calculation that you have to do?
Yeah,
Okay.
so basically, it's something that we're given by the Department of Revenue, and, we can't just say 3%, 3%.
Right.
We have to choose what they give us when we split the rate.
Correct. So if somebody came to us and said, why don't you charge them a 7% increase, there's no way that we could do that because you're regulated by the state, correct?
Exactly.
Right, the
exactly.
DOI has a formula that they use that we have to follow.
Yes, I understand that. I just want to make sure it's crystal clear.
Sure,
Thank you
yeah.
so much.
Ms. Musto?
Thank you. So over time, so for instance, the past 5 years, what has that breakdown been? I don't know if that's in here. In terms of, it's about a $400 difference this year. What was it the past couple of years? So just for trend.
So I don't know if I could give you the
The
dollar
dollar. That's what I'm
amounts in
looking for, the
there,
dollar
but
amount.
in general, you'll see,
I can see that, but.
yeah, we're looking at a 1.4925 shift. There's kind of the two shifts that are in there. And if you look, this would be something that I think you got earlier in the week.
Yeah.
But in here, you'll see that basically in 2024, the average single family was $11,008 for taxes, and commercial was $18,102. And then that will go to about 11, so for the residential, which was 11,008, that'll go to about 11,411 for the average property. And then for the commercial, it would be about 18,102 for 2024, and that will go to 18,541 for 2025.
And in terms of when the homes are revalued every 5 or 6 years? And when would we be due again?
We actually do it annually. So I'll literally be starting on the next
Okay.
update, fairly soon, actually, so.
Okay.
The Department of Revenue comes in and that analyzes their offices work every 5 years. That's the big
That's what I'm
revaluation.
thinking
That's
about.
the one you're
That's the
thinking
one I'm
of?
thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, we have a system called the DOR Gateway System. We have to enter everything in there. That includes like the level of assessment, so we try to keep it about 95% for all types of properties, and they check all that. So if we were at 110 or 50% or something, it wouldn't pass. And the same with the tax rate. We have to go off their tables in order to be able to set the tax rate.
And Ms.
Okay,
Musto,
thank you.
on your question about the dollar of the change
Yeah.
increase, I have a chart here showing it. So as Charlie pointed out, it's about $400 increase from 24 to 25. The prior years was 339, 388, 313, 287. So it's all in that $300 to $400 range
Okay.
as we're going up about the 3.5% a year on the average single-family house. Obviously, folks who have a home slightly lesser will have a lesser increase. Those with a higher home will see more of an adjustment.
Okay, thank you.
So I just have one question. Mr. Coyne, anything? I just have one question. So we're in the beginnings of, as you know, Mr. Bennett, you've seen starting of some new mixed-use projects. So they're residential and commercial. So what do you separate the portion that's commercial at the commercial rate and the residential at the, is that what you actually do? with it?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we had just what you said there, we could create, whether it's two property cards that are all one account.
Right.
But what would happen is, we call it a mixed-use type property.
Right.
Where, say 50% was residential and 50% was commercial. The commercial would get the commercial tax rate, residential would get the residential tax rate.
So I'm good. Only because I know we have several on the horizon and
Yep.
right now, so.
And I think we've already visited probably most of them
Yeah.
at this point, so.
Sure you have.
yeah.
Yes, we have. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, if I could just
Mr.
offer a
Mr.
comment.
Miller, go ahead, absolutely.
So I just wanted to give Charlie and Curtis in his office, Curtis Ross, our assistant appraiser, and the Board of Assessors, just a little bit of credit. I just wanted to flag this slide. We took it out of the presentation, but in terms of new growth, which is additional taxable value that's being generated in town, Charlie and Curtis, through their work, found $1.29 million of tax revenue in fiscal '25 through their new growth. That's largely
You made me
Walcott-
jump with the B. The B got my attention. I'm telling you right
Me
now.
too.
The B got my attention. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we're setting higher goals for next year, but no. So that's largely Walcott Woods, 131 Elliott, which have been past new growth, and then looking forward to future years. That's when we'll start to capture places that they've been out to: 711 Randolph Ave, 440 Granite Ave, Blue Hills Parkway, and the other projects. So as you can see, the past 3 years here, we've been over that $1.2 million or right around it for new growth. Hopefully, we'll hit that again next year. But that's the legwork that his office puts in to track the projects, track the permits, get out on site to see them, and make sure we're capturing that new growth. Because this is totally additional. It doesn't affect your tax bills. This is just capturing new people who are in town, whether it's an addition, or renovation, or new construction. So this team's been doing a good job, and I just wanted to flag that. Not relevant to the property tax and the shift, but it helps us in terms of the amount of money we're able to bring in year over year.
And I think 440 Granite literally put their foundation in, like, in July. We can pick up through June. So, I don't think they tried to avoid anything, but, they'll be picked up for next year, so.
So you pick up the value during construction?
Yes.
Yes, and we would literally be able to pick up, like, say, for instance, they were building this building here, and it was 50% complete. We can put it in as 50% complete with the same use, et cetera. And maybe that's how it's gonna be for 1 year, then we'd pick the rest up the following year, and we'd have a full value at that point.
So once there's an improvement on the property, it has to be picked up and put on the tax records.
Yeah. I was thinking it'd be occupancy or something, but you're picking it up right as it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's something the state allows us to do.
Yep.
And we're also picking up new growth on the July 1st schedule, because previously it was January was the only time. And then I think there was a time when the economy got a little tough, so the state gave cities and towns, if they wanted to implement it, an extra 6 months. Milton took it, and, it's been helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Anything
Thank
else? So I'm going to make a motion to, I'm going to move to close the public hearing on property tax classification. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Musto. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Next to that, I have a motion. I move that the town of Milton adopt a minimum residential factor of 0.9775. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Musto. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr.
Unanimous.
Chair.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Bradley, go ahead.
It's okay. Do we have to say the motion as drafted?
I
We
was
need a
just reading
motion
it.
on
He
the
popped it
residential
up here. He
factor.
popped it up on
So
my
we don't just
screen.
say not to adopt a residential, we don't have to say
We
those
don't need
words?
that, no.
Okay.
If the board would like to adopt those, then we would need a vote affirmatively to do so, but that's not the recommendation.
I understand. I agree then.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't
Okay.
missing something.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you very
Thank you for your
much.
time. Thank you for your hard work. Okay. 4, 5, we're at 6, right?
Yep.
So item number 6, discussion approval, special town meeting, date and timeline, potential dates for the special town meeting, February 10th, 2025, or February 24th, 2025, Mr. Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last meeting, we had talked about some
Thank you.
potential dates. We had kicked around the 10th of February, 24th of February, or the 3rd of March. Folks are not available the 3rd of March, and the room's not available, so I think we are focused on right now as the best date. Our preferred date is February 24th. That would give the warrant committee the entire month of January to work on their recommendations for the warrant. We'd have to get that warrant out to the printer that last week of January. Any earlier, we're looking at the first week or week and a half of January. We'd have to finish that, and just with the holidays would be a stretch. So if the board is inclined to set a special town meeting date, my recommendation at this time would be the February 24th date, as gives us the most flexibility to schedule that. It's the first night back after February vacation, but hopefully folks are back in town.
I'll make that in the form of a motion for February 24th, 2025. Is that all right?
Second?
Discussion? We good? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So be it. The 24th it is. Write that down at home, people. Discussion update. Item number 7, potential special town meeting warrant articles. Mr. Milano, I'll let you go through these.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to just note that we have, the school building committee has submitted articles to the select board, which we'll pick up at a future meeting, but they're not on the list, not because they haven't been submitted, but because we're going to take that up at a future meeting. So the first one is an appropriation from the PEG Access Enterprise Fund to equip the new meeting room in the former fire headquarters for televised meetings. The request here is for $60,000 from the PEG Access Enterprise Fund. So every year we receive monies from Comcast and RCN for their right to broadcast on cable TV in Milton. Most, but not all of that, is transferred annually to the Milton MPEG Access, Inc., which is Milton Access TV, for their use for their operating budget and for their equipment replacements. However, as the town holds on to a small portion of those revenues, we have about $400,000 in an account that can be used to support public and educational government programming and access to that for broadcasting. So we would like to use $60,000 of that funding in order to equip the new meeting room so that they would be able to broadcast the televised meetings that they're required to broadcast from that room. Right now, the rooms that are able to do that are this room here at the Council on Aging, the Cronin Conference Room, the Blute Conference Room in the basement of Town Hall, as well as the, I don't know the name of the room at the high school where the school committee meets, but that room as well. And then they also have a studio at the middle school. So the goal would be to add this conference room as a place where the planning board, this board, or any of the other boards that have televised meetings could have a meeting. I think long-term, we would like to take Blute offline for a big meeting space, maybe preserve it for meetings going forward, but the new room is nicer, better equipped. It actually has windows, gets folks out of the basement. So that's the genesis for it. So Shane Brandenburg and his team at Milton Access TV worked with 3 different companies to come up with an outfitting of the building that would work. So it would be several cameras, speaker system, microphone system, and AI microphone system, actually, where the mics will be in the ceiling. That will be essentially touchscreen friendly, so that if the Airplane Noise Advisory Committee wanted to have a hybrid meeting, they could go in and easily set up a hybrid meeting without staff support. But at the same time, if the planning board wants to have a televised meeting, they can go in there and have Milton Access TV support and have a televised meeting. So the idea is to have this as a multi-purpose room for boards and committees for hybrid meetings, to make that easier than the setups we have in our other rooms. So that's the description of the warrant article. So it's an appropriation from that enterprise fund to outfit that meeting room. The money would be transferred to MPEG Access Inc., Milton TV, and then they would take care of the project from there, as they would for any of these other rooms that they've outfitted before. And that's all I have on that one.
So item B is warrant article on home rule petition. You want to touch base on that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to go through all of them. Any questions on the first one?
nothing
Or good? Okay.
I'm good with it.
So the second one is for liquor licenses for on-premises. So I have a couple of slides here. I'm just going to share them because it's a little confusing and it might be helpful to frame the conversation a little bit better. Sorry. All right, I think this will just help me kind of walk through it a little bit better. So Mass General laws strictly control liquor licenses in Massachusetts. There are generally, there are more than this, but generally two types of licenses. The first would be an on-premises license, which would mean a restaurant, a bar. An off-premises license, which would be a package store. And there are three categories of communities that are controlled by Mass General law. Some which are subject to the quota, which means you have a certain amount of licenses, depending on how many people live in your town. Some cities and towns have unlimited licenses, are not subject to the quota in any way. Some towns are technically dry towns, where they're not authorized to have any licenses of any alcohol sales whatsoever, whether on premises or off premises. There's only a handful of those now. Milton is technically in the dry town category for licenses for on premises for restaurants. And that quota system sets a maximum number of licenses that a town or a licensing authority may issue. There are ballot questions in the 1960s and 1970s that determined which category you're in. Milton voted no 3 successive state elections to allow sale of alcohol beverages at restaurants. Milton voted yes to allow sale of alcohol beverages for off-premises. So that's why we have licenses for package stores. We have 6 licenses for package stores. 4 of them have currently been issued to the 4 those stores. We have no, technically, under the quota system, we have no licenses for on-premises consumption. Sorry, good.
So I just want to try and wrap my brain around this. So we're a dry town, and I grew up actually back in the long time ago machine, where I knew what dry towns were, but there was actually no alcohol in that town at all. But we have restaurants.
Right.
He's going to get to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
am I jumping the gun? Because I'm like wicked
Yeah.
confused.
No, so I just
He's going to get to that. This is why we're
partially
here.
dry.
right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
but we are a dry town, but we're technically not a dry town.
Correct.
All right, loving it. Okay, keep going.
trying to address that. So in a community that has quotas, that is not 100% dry, the process to get a liquor license is you apply to the local licensing authority. In a town, it's usually the select board. In a city, they usually have a licensing board. So you apply to the licensing authority. After you get approval there, you go to the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission, and you get approval from them. Regardless of whether you have a license or not, you still have to comply with local zoning, Board of Health, and all those regulations to open whatever establishment it is that you wish to open. But in terms of just getting the license to sell alcohol, it's a one-stop. You go to the local licensing authority, then you go to the ABCC. This is the process we use for package stores because we are in the quota system, so we have 6 licenses for package stores. This would be the process. Somebody wants to open a package store. If the zoning allows for it, great. You apply to the Milton Select Board. If the Milton Select Board grants you your license, you go to the ABCC, and then you can open your business as long as you comply with all the other regs. For Milton, where we have no on-premises licenses allowed because we are not in the quota system based on the ballot question votes we took in the 1960s and 70s. The process is lengthier. You have to submit a request for a warrant article. Then you go to town meeting for approval of a home rule petition, which was essentially a special act that says, despite all the laws, yes, Milton, you can issue a liquor license for this specific entity at this specific location. So you get your warrant article, you go to town meeting, you go to the legislature approves it, you come back to the select board, you go to the ABCC, assuming you meet all your other regulations, whether it's zoning, Board of Health, building permits. Once you do all that, you're able to open. So this is the lengthy process that applies if you want to open a restaurant here in town. 2 different processes for off-premises and on-premises consumption. So just in terms of what have we done, so we have 8 special acts, now 9, that just approved recently. Here's the listing of them in the history. As you can see, some of these have moved quickly, and I don't want to say that everything will take forever. Madre was, and I don't know the history preceding this and how long or short that was, but some of these moved quickly where they were filed at a special town meeting and then they received legislative approval within a year. Others, like 1 Elliott Street, was approved at a 2022 special town meeting. It was approved by the legislature in October of 2024. So it can be short, it can be very lengthy. It's out of the town's control, is my point. And for 1 Elliott, it didn't affect the project. The project wasn't moving forward. They haven't come to local regulatory approval for that project yet either. However, if they had moved more quickly, and then they could have been in a position where they're waiting on the legislature. So that is the process for these restaurants. We have 2 at Fuller Village for on-premises and the American Legion Wollaston Golf Club, but those are controlled under separate laws. But just for restaurants, this has been the process and the timeline to get those approved. So I guess, what can we do about it? So one option is to keep with the current system and await the next potential small business owner that wants to open a restaurant in town, tell them to draft a warrant article, let's take it to town meeting, let's take it to the legislature, come back to the select board, go to the ABCC, or we can try to put together a home rule petition that will make the process so that we'll have a couple on hand ready to go for the select board to issue if and when there is an interest and a business has the zoning that's required and the other permitting that's required. The exact recommendation on this we're still working on, and we'll need to work with folks in the legislature on this, but I just wanted to get questions from the board now, or general direction if this is by consensus that you think we should get something in writing. The options here are what we think are possible. One would be that we just put the question back to voters to say, should we go in the ballot system, or in the quota system? That's one option. Another would be to ask the legislature to give us a discrete number, give us 5 new licenses. You know, if 5 places open and this board releases 5 licenses, and then we go back to the legislature for more. And the other thing that I've noticed is a lot of these special acts will be, they'll identify a number of new licenses that they'll grant, but they'll geographically limit them. So that might be an option for this town too, in terms of approaching it as in the business district or in a certain overlay district or something else. So there's 3 real options, but before doing heavy lifting on trying to figure out the best plan for Milton and what might be feasible with the legislature, we wanted to check in, take your temperature at this point, and then try to put a warrant article together. So I know that's a little confusing, but I think the takeaway primarily is to open a restaurant in town, you need the legislature first. Maybe we can come up with a way to get everything lined up so if a select board has an applicant, it can move rather than potentially wait 18 months, 24 months to allow a restaurant to open. And I just wanted to flag, there's none in mind, so this is really purely to have something available. I don't know if there's been talk of anything new, but there's nothing pushing this right now. It's just more of, as we get ready for what may come, this might be a place for the town to be better positioned to react rather than be reactive.
So before I go to Mr. Quinn, can you just go back to the slide, because I'll go to questions and then I'm going to give a little history on it. Go ahead, Mr. Cohen.
I'm just wondering if we were to do something like that, what happens to all those licenses already issued differently?
They're all special act licenses, which means they exist, no matter what else the town does, unless the town files in its legislation does something to these. But these licenses are issued, they have their own special act and their own, really, their special law, and you can look it up, Acts of something 2024. All of these licenses they identify a business specifically, but they say that if that business closes, the license goes back to the select board and may be reissued, but only to a new business at that exact location. So these, even if something were to close, and the plate is the most recent example, that license comes back to the select board, holds it, a new applicant will apply to the select board for that license for that location. You can't take that license and walk it across the street and open it somewhere else. So, but there would be no impact on these existing licensees.
So to your point right there, just to give you an example, if you go to the bottom one on this chart, 1 Elliott Street.
Right.
So that was passed by town meeting, as you can see, it was passed in 2024, it went in 2022, it took almost 2 years. The owner of that building has now, it's been in the paper publicized, they've bought the old Bank of America on the other side of the street.
Right.
And they want to work on opening that first. You can't walk this place, you can't walk that license. So this will, under the existing system, you're talking a minimum of a year, closer to 2 years, on a project that they want to start on now. So that's the one diff coming. Second thing is, I'm just going to a little bit of history because I did a lot of this when I was a deputy chief. 88 Wharf is listed as the first one, but it was actually, the first one was going to be at 1 Adams Street. It was a building that was going to be built. It was mixed use in the parking lot of Extra Space. It was going to be a restaurant on the first floor, residential on the top 3 floors. They lost their funding. We actually went through the whole process. They lost their funding, it never opened, so a third example I'll give is the Hoosier Club sold and gave the license back, and I don't remember which board, who it went to. I'm not sure who has it today, but it was purchased, and they tried to reopen it as the Milton Club, and they wound up going out of business because it was going to be a 2.5-year process to get a liquor license again. And we've talked a lot about this, to Mr. Milano's point, having a set, I think, and this is my own opinion, and you guys, having a set number, whether it's 4 or 5 in the queue, makes it a lot easier. Because to Ms. Bradley's point, when she talked to the assessors on the previous thing, part of the reason that 2-point-something%, 3% is inched closer to 5 is because of these projects. And the other thing is that each one of those have brought in significant tax dollars, particularly in meals that we never had. I mean, no one would have ever thought that Milton would become a destination place for dining, particularly fine dining, and it has. So go ahead. No, that's all I have.
I wasn't questioning it it makes sense. It makes sense. I was questioning do we bring these into that program? Like, you know what I mean? Because we got some in an old program and some in a new program.
So that's where,
I
think that's depending on the approach. Like if we were to say, okay, the best option is let's be like our neighbors and just be in the quota system and put a ballot question in front of the voters and say, do you want to go in the quota system? So then if voters said yes, we would be in the quota system, we would have up to 30 licenses. So maybe if that is the route we go, we say, okay, we're going to go into the quota system, but these 9 will count against that 30. So now Milton will only have 21. Maybe I don't know that I think that would be the only scenario where these would be affected.
Yep.
The other option would be file a home rule petition that says grant Milton 5 additional licenses, and that's it. It wouldn't have anything to do with these. So it really depends on what route we go, and that'll depend on looking at how other communities have addressed it.
Right. Be interesting to see, because it'd be nice to just bring everything, not have some by an old system and some by, you know what I mean? That's
I agree with you. That would have to go to town meeting vote.
If it makes it
do that.
complicated, then but otherwise,
Yeah, the issue is I haven't found an example, and I've called to a couple of communities to see if they've done this idea of going to the quota system now, whereas more of the trend is additional licenses in a number of those additional licenses. And that's something we could apply for too. And maybe that'll be easier to pass with the legislature. That's what I need to figure out, and wanted to check in here with questions before going down that road.
I'm making myself a note. Ms. Bradley.
So it seems like part of the hiccup was the legislature, which we have all read and know had a really disgraceful session this last 2 years where they didn't get much done and didn't get much done on time. So I'm wondering if that had something to do with the fact that this took 2 years? Because all the other ones seem to have percolated along fairly quickly. You know, the only other outstanding one I can see is maybe 2 years in 2011 for 95 Elliott Street for Steel and Rye. And Adams Street is also 2 years.
Yeah.
But I'm just, you know, the rest of them seem fairly quick. I'm not in love with getting a quota system. I'm more in love with, let's say, we get 5 more licenses to put in our kitty, and then utilize it from there. I think the quota system, to me, is a lot of licenses that we would have to manage, and that just seems, you know, while I'm all for creating business in this town, and we all know that I am, that just seems excessive to me.
So you were referring to quota system, meaning going to a townwide vote to change what was voted on?
No.
No.
No,
Yeah,
no,
he's
that's
not.
what I mean. When you're referring to a quota system, you're talking about a vote that will give you up to 30 licenses.
Correct.
Correct,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So if the discrete number makes more sense, we can start there. And like I said, that the trend, looking back at the past couple of years of bills that have passed, have been grant the town of X 3
Exactly.
additional licenses,
I think it
4
will be
additional licenses,
easier for us to
5
push that up the hill.
Okay.
And maybe it will happen in less than 2 years if folks get working. So I'm all for that.
So we would put this special, so let's say, oh, sorry, Ms. Musto, go
Okay.
ahead. My
A few-
brain started spinning, sorry.
I agree. I think that I would prefer to see that we just go slow on it and maybe do even 4. If you have 9 now, do 4. And if you find out that that's not going to work and you see that the trend is that we're going to need more, then you can always go back. But the thing about it I wanted to ask you is, are these for full liquor licenses or are these beer and wine? Because some places, I know some towns will have beer and wine, some have full. So can you talk about that a little bit?
So Ichiro Sushi, I believe, is beer and wine.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
they're all alcohol.
Yeah.
And that would be up to drafting
Yeah.
it. If the
Okay.
preference was, let's have a few for all alcohol, and why don't we ask for a couple for beer and wine, that could be an option. I think typically now restaurants are seeking the full
They
license.
want the full license. Yeah, I just wondered if there was any differentiation.
If we were
Yeah.
in the quota system, we would have a defined amount of all alcohol and a defined amount of beer and wine only. But because we're not, we have 0 of each technically, so it's up to us to decide what to ask for, really.
And then what about transfer of those licenses? So if somebody, for these new ones, how would that work?
It's us.
So
So
they'd bring it, but so they.
Typically, what
Yeah.
I have seen,
Yeah.
and I'll have to do a little bit more research, what I've seen is anytime there's additional being granted over and above what a community has, it's typically limited to that location going forward. So once it's issued to a location, it stays with that location forever. So in your queue, it's
Yeah.
free to go wherever. Once it's issued to one XYZ street, it stays for that. If that restaurant closes, it can come back to the select board, but only be reissued for that location. That is how I've seen most of them drafted, but it'll take a little homework to flesh that out a little bit more.
Okay.
Mr.
Similar
Lane,
to
go ahead.
this, it just takes the legislator out of
Right,
it.
Each time, every time you do it.
Yeah, each time it
anytime
takes
you
the
do it.
legislator out of it.
correct.
Yeah.
A little more local control,
Well, it sounds
But it
like you
still
have
ends up
them.
being a location. It's for that location once issued.
once it's issued.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm okay with the 5. I really am. I know you're saying 4, but just because I know how much, I work so much on, particularly in the beginning, how much work these take, I'd be all right with 5. Just the way, look at who, no one ever thought 88 Watt, and that was like, and as I say, it wasn't intentional, it was actually going to be in a building that was never built, never happened. So, and then just to look at the difficulty, 1 Elliott Street, now he's parking that, but he has to start from scratch just to go across the street. So, so what do you want to work on that?
Yeah, so let's do a little more homework, and we'll get back to you. But I just wanted this general direction. I wanted to get this idea started out there, and we'll do a little more homework, work with town council, and reach out to some staff at the legislature to figure out what is kind of easiest to get moving, and we'll draft it accordingly.
Is this covering item C as well?
No. So item C is a separate alcohol-related issue that I'd like to share with the board. We have a bylaw on the books that does not allow for consumption of alcohol on public
Oh,
property.
yeah, okay.
Now, when it comes to events like the stroll down at Manning Park, or if the library, for example, the Friends of the Library wanted to have a wine and cheese night, they
keys
can't
on-
do that. So we have drafted a warrant article that would change that. So it would still be prohibited, but it would create exceptions if an entity that had care, custody, and control of the building or property approved it, and if the select board approved it. So if the Council on Aging wanted to have a fundraiser, or the Friends, I should say, of the Council on Aging wanted to have a fundraiser, the COA was okay with them using this building, the select board was okay with them using the building, dealing with insurance and getting covered through that, then the program would go ahead. If the select board was okay with an entity using Manning Park for an outdoor event, it could do so if the board approved it, and the same with the library. So the idea is to get away from a blanket prohibition, still have it be prohibited, but subject to a board and committee approval and the select board approval.
Similar to the
have
MAC,
that.
similar to what's in the MAX lease now.
Correct. Yes.
Ms. Bradley, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Would that also cover the farmer's market and the new plan for the farmer's market down in the wharf?
Yes,
Good
that would
point.
be, yes, because it would be a park under select board control, so the select board would have to approve
And
that.
who would, so you said for a building, it was like the Friends of the Library or the Friends of the Council on Aging. Who would it be that would have to go? Would it just be us for like, for example, that farmer's market area? Would it just come right to the select board?
Correct, it would be,
Okay.
yes, some outside group would want to put it on, ask this board for approval to use the property and approval for the license.
We'd still be giving them the 1 day.
Yes.
Oh, sorry,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Musto. You gotta raise it higher, I'm looking.
It's so quiet here. So can you just explain in terms of liability, so would the town would have the liability and whoever is getting the permit would, just explain that a little bit so we understand that piece of it.
We have coverage today through our insurer.
Okay.
However, if an entity was going to use our land or building for an event such as this, we would require them to have insurance, make us an additional insured, and have liquor liability insurance. So
That's why I said
cover it that
similar
way.
to what's in the MAX lease.
Yeah,
You do the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah. Just so people understand at
Yeah.
home,
Yep.
you know.
So many people in
fine.
town go to the Milton Music Fest every year, which is land that's owned by trustees of the
Trustees.
property. Same type thing. The applicant files for 1 day, and you do an insurance right off. It's actually pretty common in today's world, so. You want to
Okay.
come back to us with that, too?
So I have a draft warrant article. I'll share it with town council, and then
Okay.
I'll present it at the next meeting with
Sure.
town council. I know
Sounds good.
John Flynn has looked at it, but I just need comments back.
John Flynn?
John,
Yes, he still looks at our he looks at our bylaws for us.
Wow.
Every time. Yeah.
Good evening, John. I saw him in Newcomb Farms the other day. I should have gone up and thanked him. Item D, warrant article for home rule petition to establish a senior means tested property tax.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have
this is
anything.
next thing?
This is the same one we've been working on. I don't have anything new on it. I know I owe Roxanne some information, Ms. Musto some information, so we'll follow up on it. I had it on here in case we discussed it,
Okay.
but there's nothing new on that one. Mr. Chair, I do have a placeholder for other warrant articles. I would just flag a couple that have been raised in various stages. Local Historic District Study Committee did have their local historic district warrant article referred back to them at town meeting. Mr. Loffer has been in touch with the warrant committee and others about that process. So whether that's an annual or special article, I think we'll still have to see. The other thing that I just wanted to flag for the board, and I'll provide some additional information, is we've been working, as this board knows, on the design at Adams and Squantum Street to signalize that intersection. We had Chase Berkeley in here with Beta Group about a year ago, I'd say now, to continue that work. So that work has progressed. It is funded by the state, so we are on the hook for design, which we've been working on. The state would pay for construction. There are some temporary and permanent takings associated with that project, and that would require town meeting authorization. So just as we did with, if you folks remember, in East Milton, so there's a warrant article to allow for temporary and permanent easements. We would need something similar for that project. So I'm not sure the timeline on that or when it would be ready, but it's something that is in the queue to come to the town meeting.
For February.
Potentially for February, maybe for May, but I have to check in with engineering and get an update on that. And I think those are the ones I wanted to mention that I've been made aware of. Oh, and sorry, I knew there was a third. We have talked about, and Ms. Bradley has talked about a lighting bylaw, potential for a lighting bylaw to address lighting issues. So it's something we've been looking at to see what other communities have done, how they've addressed issues, and been working with town council on some ideas on that. So we'll have something a little bit more fleshed out for the next meeting.
Do we have any to go from? Anyone, are we plagiarizing from any other community?
We do. There's been, so I've been working on this
I
for.
knew that, I did know that.
I don't know, years now. Our town council has found some interesting things out of Great Barrington that has just been approved by the Attorney General's office. So we've met with the town council. I spoke to park commissioners about this. I'm going to be talking to the Concom as well, because really, we do have a lot of rural areas in town, and we do have a lot of natural areas that we would like to continue to remain natural areas and not be polluted with light, so that it really throws off the ecosystem of animals. So that's why Great Barrington, which is out in the middle of nowhere,
All right, I've been there.
I've been there too. So yes,
Like you
we are.
went pretty far to find that one.
It is. There's a lot of other towns that have done it different ways, but we're trying to ensure that our neighbors that are four-footed animals can and two-footed animals can exist in the habitat that we've tried to preserve for them in our town. And there's a lot of areas, throughout town that we have as conservation land. So we want to make sure that is, our parks and our conservation lands are welcoming to all of our neighbors, including the feathered kind.
So you're going to come back to us with this?
Yes.
Come back? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we good?
That is all I have at this time, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Item number 8, discussion approval change of manager at Milton Fuller Housing Corp., DBA Fuller Village.
Yes, Fuller Village has asked to add Molly Welch as the manager on their liquor licenses, and that requires an action of this board to approve that, and then subsequent approval by the ABCC.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve the change of manager at Milton Fuller Housing Corp., DBA Fuller Village for liquor license, right, because this is for their liquor licenses,
Yes.
right? For liquor licenses at 1399 Brush Hill, Blue Hill Avenue, and at 1372 Brush Hill Road. I wonder if you could just copy in the numbers for the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Item number 9, I'm going to defer until Mr. Zoll's back. Is that all right? Which brings us to 10, discussion approval, committee appointments, Conservation Commission. We have a recommendation from the chair from Mr. Cannon, the chair of the Conservation Commission, to appoint, am I correct in the name?
Mr. Bosworth?
Mr. Bosworth. So I'll make a motion to approve the appointment to the Conservation Commission of Charles Bosworth. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Bradley. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Cohen?
No.
You're a no? Ms. Musto?
Abstain.
2-1 vote. The appointment passes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next one is Equity and Justice for All, reappointments. I'll make a motion to reappoint Linda Champion, Christopher Hart, and Patricia Lattimore. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Bradley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All, that's unanimous. Okay. Item number, and I think we're almost there for you, Ms. Bradley.
Yep. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so for item number 11, we are discussing one-day liquor licenses, so I'm going to make a massive motion.
Go ahead.
First, to approve the historic New England Eustace Estate at 1424 Canton Ave, December 5th, 2024, 7 to 9 p.m. Christmas Cheers Holiday Music and House Tour, December 8th, 2024, 3 to 5 p.m. Afternoon Tea, December 12th, 2024, 6 to 8 p.m. The Gilded Glow Holiday Concert. These look amazing. December 15th, 2024, 3 to 5 p.m. Another holiday tea. December 16th, 2024, 3 to 5 p.m. Holiday tea. December 17th, 2024, 3 to 5 p.m. holiday tea. And finally, December 19th, 2024, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., the Christmas Cheers Holiday Music and House Tour.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
I was
Second
just
by
gonna
Ms.
second.
Musto. All those in favor?
Aye.
What's in the tea?
And
A lot
then
of
I'd like
holiday
to,
tea there.
Okay, go ahead. You want to go to 12?
yeah, yep. Oh, yep.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, you got it all. Go ahead to 12.
You want me to do that one?
Yep, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, I was reading that wrong. Okay, so I move to approve the use of the town green and the Baron Hugo gazebo on Sunday, December 8th, 2024 for the annual Marine Toys for Tots toy drive sponsored by Francine Jeffers of Kelly and Reg Properties. Ooh.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the last one, Ms. Bratton?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I should have done that together. I move to approve the use of the town green and Baron Hugo gazebo for the holiday memorial tree program and lighting ceremony sponsored by the Rotary Club of Milton on a date TBD.
The second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to go right to 13?
Yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Okay. I
on a roll.
You're on the roll. Keep
make a
going.
motion to approve the meeting minutes dated October 8th, 2024 and October 22nd, 2024.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Milano,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
7:59.
Just a few things tonight. A big thank you to Kevin Cook for helping organize yesterday's Veterans Day ceremony, and thanks to all who joined us for it, especially to Captain Chris Chowda,
Chowda.
who I thought gave a great speech about morale and how do you build morale, keep morale, and strengthen it while you're on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Middle East. So very well spoken and well delivered and a good message for Veterans Day. So big thanks to both of them. The MBTA Communities Forum that had been scheduled for Thursday evening has been canceled, the Planning Board's forum there. So that had been on the books for, I think, 7 o'clock here. That has been canceled.
Canceled or postponed?
Postponed, I should say. Thank you. Postponed. Just wanted to say we promoted Peter Rizzi to Water and Sewer Superintendent in the Department of Public Works. So congrats to Peter and appreciate his service to the town and growing through the ranks. The Planning Director position remains open. It's on our website, open until filled. Anybody who has interest or knows somebody who might be interested, please encourage them to reach out to me. Be happy to chat with them and have them join the team. And then lastly, there is, MassDOT is scheduled to have a public information meeting on Thursday regarding Randolph Ave and Chickatobit Road. They progressed that to the 100% design and plan to discuss that on Thursday night. That's at 6:30. Information's on the MassDOT website and it's on Zoom. And that is my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. I just want to reiterate, just thank you again to everyone who came out yesterday, all the parents, musicians, scouts, police, fire, the DPW, everyone who made it happen. But I just, those of you who were there heard my remarks yesterday. If you read the Milton Times last week, the front page article is a really special community endeavor that was started by Walter White and the Rotarians, where they went to Milton Cemetery. I think it was 3 Saturdays ago. I was there. It's all blur to me those days now, but what they did with so many people from local businesses, and I named them all yesterday, and I'll forget them, so I don't want to do it tonight. But from Curry College baseball team to local parents and kids, other elected officials, to go in there and reface all of those veterans' graves that had been just wearing away and were now hidden and unseen, and bring them back to the restoration befitting of an American veteran was really a very special thing. And I hadn't given a Veterans Day speech in 5 years, and I kind of thought a lot about what to talk about. But what I saw them do that day really kind of put it in my mind what to speak. And I had no idea that Walter White would be there, which was even more fitting that he'd be in the crowd. So I want to thank the Rotarians and everyone, every business, all of them that were involved in that. That was really a labor of love and a true act of love for our American heroes who enjoy their final resting place on Center Street. That's all I have. Anyone else? What'd I forget? Oh, you're right. I also want to congratulate, oh my word, and I spoke at it. So this week on Sunday night, a beloved treasurer of the town of Milton, not treasurer, not treasurer, treasurer, Marita Manning Cronin received the M. Joseph Manning 2024 Community Award. And as I said that night, Marita, and having known her for over 50 years, the wife of powerhouse John Cronin, but she's just as much a powerhouse as he is. She is a woman of action in so many ways, in so many aspects, from education to environment to scouting to town history to really furthering and promoting the business of Thatcher Farms, which is one of her family's business, which is one of the oldest businesses existing in town today. It may actually be the oldest business left in town today. But in the story that I told, you two heard it, was if you want to understand the power of Mrs. Cronin's performance, her ability is just to watch her take out a quart of Thatcher Farms chocolate milk, pour you a small cup of like that, and then she just swing you to anything she wanted, anything she needed, you'd get you to do it. But she's really, it was wonderful to see a member of the Manning family receive it, and I've known, I think, nearly every recipient, and it was really a wonderful night. It was packed. And she's just a woman, and even in her remarks, so dignified and short, and she was there yesterday, so I was standing in the crowd, and she's gone in a blink, but she is truly a woman of action, and congratulations to her and her family, and I'm sure John is smiling down from heaven. That's all I have. Anybody else? Ms. Bradley?
I just want to thank you for that, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to give a special shout out to our town fire department. They have been battling blazes in the Blue Hills and surrounding areas, and recently this week there was a fire on Lincoln Street, which many of you know is where I live. The fire was across the street. I and my family slept through the entire ordeal.
Really?
Really. Wow. So anybody who says that the fire trucks are loud, I disagree. But they did, from what I have heard from my neighbors, they did yeoman's work over there and did a fabulous job. All 8 of the residents came out unscathed, and so I just want to commend the fire department for all the work that they've been doing to help make sure that our areas are safe, including our neighboring towns. So it's been a rough couple weeks for the fire departments across the Commonwealth, but special shout out to ours because they did a great job.
Thank you to Chief Madden and the department, and you're correct, if anyone saw, the governor spoke today. Up on the North Shore, they've been battling a series of fires up in the Middleton Linfield area, and as she stated, you know, I think over a third of our geographic footprint is the Blue Hills Reservation, and they've been dealing with, and if you notice in your mail, we're getting red flags every morning.
Okay.
Still have red,
Yeah.
we're red flag. So residents need to be really careful, even with outside grills, smoking a cigarette or anything. It could be, it's as dry as a bone up there right now. So anyone else, Mr. Coyne? No. Okay. No. Anything else?
Just the dates.
Oh yeah, future meeting dates. So I'm a little ditzy tonight. So future meeting dates, tentative are for Tuesday, November 26th, and Tuesday, December 10th.
So that Tuesday is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I know
So I won't be here for that one.
Mrs. O's traveling as well.
So if we can put it off, do you want to do that? If we all right if we can?
I don't
Wait.
Is there anything we're going to need?
Well, it would make the 10th, I think, kind of long because we'll be in a place to talk school project, MSBA, budget.
You mean longer than an hour? We're good with that.
So if folks may available or look at calendars
Okay.
for December 3rd if needed, and we'll kind of see what's going on and check back in. All right. So
I'm in finals that first week of December, so it's just rough for me. I can try and make, I don't have a final that night, I can try and make it work if it was going to be shorter.
and I
We
don't
could just go long on the 10th.
Or we could just go longer.
Long on the 10th.
Depends what you have, really.
Yeah.
You'll have a better sense. Yeah, you'll have a better sense after that.
But not on, so now we're taking the 26th off, correct, Mr. Chair?
Yes, you are, Ms.
Yes.
Bradley.
Thank you.
That's a tough week.
It is a tough one.
Yeah.
So, motion to adjourn? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to
Do you
adjourn.
have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Bradley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone at home. Have a good week.